Today I'm going to be attempting to beat the America Rising Fallout 4 mod expansion under the rules of Metal Gear Solid's European Extreme mode, so without ever getting detected by an enemy, and I'll be doing it as, guess who? Big Boss himself. The rules of this challenge are that I have to beat the America Rising mod's main questline with a reduced perception of enemies on the minimap to replicate being unable to use the biosensor, on the hardest difficulty under survival, very hard, to increase the enemy attack power and boss HP and attack power, beat the questline with the Agony mod active for more side effects and consequences of being injured to reflect the heightened stamina usage of European Extreme mode, play through the mod with gas masks of the Wasteland on, so I'll have to constantly contend with radiation decreasing my maximum health to replicate the reduced life gauge of European Extreme, beat the mod with loot logic and reduction active to reduce the amount of ammunition I can find in the world like in European Extreme mode, play through this questline for the first time ever to somewhat replicate the European Extreme idea of enemy patrol routes changing, play through the America Rising questline with the Search and Destroy mod active, making it harder to evade detection, and finally, beat America Rising under the challenge of the most important rule of European Extreme mode. Once an enemy has detected you, the game is over immediately and I have to reload from my last save. I start by creating my character to be as close to what I think Snake would be like statistically as possible, and attempt to answer the question, can you beat Fallout 4 America Rising on European Extreme mode?
Mr. Snake?
No! That is not Solid Snake! Stop impersonating him!
Once the game truly begins, I take out all the rad roaches without getting spotted after a couple of attempts, realize that a lot of this run is just going to be reloading saves millions of times, and begin to irradiate to death before I put my gas mask on. I got my hands on an M16 with about 300 rounds of 5.56 and got a special handgun called the Foxhound Mark 23, the signature silenced handgun of Solid Snake that would serve me very well in this challenge. After some crafting in the cheat room for some bare essentials like Naked Snake's XM16E1, a normal US SOCOM Mark 23, and as much ammo as I could manage, I took a couple 100,000 45 rounds so that if I almost inevitably ran out of ammo, I'd still have my trusty Foxhound SOCOM to rely on, being that, in Metal Gear Solid, you can instantly stealth knock out somebody with your bare hands, but you can barely knock out somebody with like a baton in Fallout 4, let alone stealthily. My crafting got me to level 4, so I took a level in Armor, Blacksmith, and Intelligence so that at level 5, I could take a level in Gun Nut, all perks I would need to either construct my Metal Gear Solid outfits, or craft or modify my weapons later in the run, since I was trying to get as many silenced weapons as I could, with the plan being to go for sneak levels and pistol and auto rifle damage after that. After skinning Big Boss and wearing his face, as well as taking his eye patch and sneak suit, I attempt to stealth kill these zombies and completely and utterly failed. Wait, why are there zombies here? Well, originally this challenge was going to include the additional challenge of it taking place in a zombie apocalypse, with hundreds of thousands of zombies of extra eyes on the prowl, but unfortunately it made the challenge basically impossible. I literally couldn't take 2 steps in the open world without immediately being spotted, so after conferring with the Council of Discord, I decided to bring back the zombie apocalypse angle for the next challenge run and make it more of a main focus. For now, I sneak my way to the Red Rocket gas station and get my trusty companion, D-Wolf. While there, I get a radio signal about a Vault 111 facility storing the remnants of the US government, and that they need me to wake them up. Or in other words, the start of the questline that this challenge run is all about. With my most faithful companion at my side and my SOCOM in hand, I head to the Vault 111 government facility and begin my first major stealth operation, clearing the facility of all its raider inhabitants and waking up the last remnants of the US government from their cryosleep. The irony isn't lost on me that Big Boss is helping the US government, but I like to think that desperate times, like total atomic annihilation, call for desperate measures. Even without the zombies later on in the run, the open world was a nightmare to traverse that we'll get to soon, but these closed-off indoor spaces were where this challenge run really shined. I'm probably currently showing you all the dozens of attempts where I couldn't even get past the first room in this facility, but like I've said in every Iron Man challenge run that I've done on this channel, the trial and error of these runs is my favorite part. You try something, it succeeds, you learn what you did right, and you move on to the next room hoping that things go half as well as they did before. You fail, you go back to the drawing board, you try something new, and you keep changing and modifying and altering and evolving your approach until you succeed, and you move forward with the knowledge of what works and what doesn't, and just keep getting better. I don't know why, but I just love doing that, which is a shame since that playstyle typically tends to make for extremely long or overbloated videos. Anyway, I don't know how Past Me is doing here, or whether or not we've gotten to the successful attempt yet, but if we haven't, let's go ahead and skip forward a bit so that I can walk you through how I cleared this place without getting caught by either raiders or zombies. As you've no doubt seen at this point, the main strategy is to take shots at the raiders with the Foxhound SOCOM from the shadows, maybe throw a Molotov or two in there, and just keep picking at them with VATS and hope that they don't see me, and with the distraction of zombies at attempt 4, it almost works, until one of those zombies saw me at the last second. On attempt 8, I got attacked from behind by a zombie even though I was sure I headshotted the raiders at the entrance, which would prevent their resurrection, so I decided to backtrace on attempt 9 all the way out of the cave, didn't find any zombies, and when I came back, the loading screen had apparently despawned all the raiders, so I guess I win! On to the next room, I tried the same tactic and it worked on my first try thanks to D-Wolf, which would have been great if I hadn't then gotten spotted by a patrolling raider and had to reload and do it again immediately after. Second attempt failed, third succeeded, but I restarted anyway because I thought I had been detected, but the fourth time was the charm. After taking out a couple of patrolling raiders, I came to the last room in the facility before the vault with a couple of raiders in it, and though it took some figuring out, I was able to eventually kill one of them with explosives, which then turned them into a zombie, which killed the last living one and then got attacked by D-Wolf, and I killed it while it was distracted. Alright, time to wake up these popsicles. The vault was clear, but I couldn't be sure, so I scoped it out and made sure the coast was clear before I let out Sergeant Peterson, Corporal Fitzgerald, Dr. Ellen Kane, and General Russell Ward. Just a side note, while the General and his people do exactly what you'd expect them to do, you know, expect things to be somewhat the same, get culture shocked after finding out it's been like 200 years and everyone they try to contact is dead, the works, this mod is incredibly well made. When I chose to do this mod for this challenge, I chose it because I had heard that it was about the Enclave and thought that the old world US military theme and having Snake traverse old military bases in stealth would best fit the theme, and I was right, but I did not, however, know that this mod was so good it recently got a sequel. Anyway, back to these nerds. With a rude awakening done, Sergeant Peterson and I have been ordered by the General to head to a radio facility so that Ward can contact and consolidate with the other potentially remaining members of the US government. Now, I'd like to preface this quest with this statement. This mission was hell. Easily the worst thing in the entire run. I snuck my way into the Devil's Marsh to get to the radio station, reloading as needed and taking out enemies as I could, but once I get into the base, it gets attacked by raiders and I've got to defend it. But if I get spotted, I have to reload my last save. Worse yet, the collision and textures for this area are so cracked. There were wide open spaces I couldn't walk through, walls and obstacles I phased right through, and dozens of spots that I either temporarily or permanently got stuck in. I tried to fight back and take shots from stealth like normal, but not only were all of these raiders secretly Daredevil, but for some reason they were impervious to bullets. I just dumped an entire 12-round mag of 45 into this guy's forehead and he didn't even blink, no damage, not even a hit marker. I now realized there had to be some kind of conflict between some of the mods I had downloaded, but at the time I was incredulous. The only way to even hurt these guys was to run up on them with a baton, and even then most of them were either nestled into areas I couldn't even reach because of bugged collision, or they'd just come back as zombies and I'd have to deal with a zombie eating my face, or raiders melting me with an endless stream of Molotovs, or boring more holes into me than an auger. I'd completely abandoned stealth at this point, and even then this was impossible. I couldn't sneak away because of the bad collision making it nearly impossible to escape and the raiders' super senses, and even if I did, the objective was to kill all the raiders, so I'd just have to come back anyway, so I did the only thing I could. I deleted all zombies within 1500 meters of me, and take out the raiders as fast as possible with my security baton. Oh, and if you're wondering what Sergeant Peterson's contribution to all of this was, he served no purpose.
You serve no purpose in life.
This whole thing took like 40 minutes and he didn't do a damn thing. Well, after that bloodbath, I wiped their face blood off of my mask and resumed the rules of the run. And no, I don't consider that a failure of the challenge, seeing as all of the enemies were invincible and the pathing for that entire area was broken beyond redemption. Next up, General Ward wants me to reclaim a vertibird facility so that we can fly out to our new base, an oil rig out in the middle of the ocean, so that vertibird facility will be our next clandestine military installation stealth op. But before that, the excruciating experience that is attempting to traverse the open world. This is the point where it got so bad that I called a meeting of the Lords of Cringe, where the consensus seemed to be either change the rules or make the zombies more difficult because you all hate me. In that spirit, I'll do both. I removed the zombies from this challenge run due to its clashing with the theme and making the challenge nearly unplayable, but in return, they'll be back in full force next challenge. While I was out and about, I decided to sneak to Diamond City to see about getting my hands on some other Metal Gear Solid weapons and a steady source of what sparse ammo there was in this world. And along the way, I fixed the problem that made everybody invincible to bullets, took out Wolf and Simone while remaining undetected in broad daylight, snuck my way from Concord to Diamond City without being spotted by a single enemy, and got an Ithaca M37 and an M1911 from my man Arturo, who has a based and funny sign. Next stop, the Vertibird facility. With the zombies gone, things were significantly easier, but with the Commonwealth filled to the brim with raiders with better senses of smell than bloodhounds, it took a couple of attempts before I made it. That said, this is where the fun begins. This facility was filled with gunner military LARPers that were on brand for the theme, and great stealth practice and target practice. I used my unsilenced US SOCOM and fired on a gunner to draw them all into a more manageable firing box where I can keep track of all of them and stay hidden from all of them. Actually, that's a lie. I am not that smart. I accidentally equipped the unsilenced gun and ran away when all the gunners came running right for me. I attempted to set up a trap for the pursuing gunners that didn't go so well at first, but I was eventually able to take out this first gunner, and from there I had my foot in the door, so now it's just a matter of saving and reloading and trial and error. Slowly but surely, I worked my way through the gunners, finding out what was and wasn't acceptable to remain hidden from my enemies. Which I found out there's like no rhyme or reason. There are some dudes that don't see me unloading right into their face. And some people that smell me from 50 miles away while I'm tiptoeing through thick brush. The final vertibird room in this facility was pretty difficult. I had two guys here at the bottom where it was easy to get the drop on one, but the other hid behind everything that they could to prevent me from taking them out until the gunner on Overwatch would spot me. It took a bit of effort and planning, but eventually I dropped down and killed the first enemy, dropped down to the bottom floor with the vertibird and took out the second guy, took an elevator up to the third and took them out, and then finished off the last of the gunners to reclaim the facility. General Ward's happy to hear of our success, but we're not done yet, since now that we have a vertibird, we're gonna take that sucker and fly it out to the Oil Rig Enclave base to reclaim our new base of operations. Before that, the General says I have to wait a day for preparations, so I head to Diamond City and help Diamond City security take out this totally crazy, not actually correct citizen trying to kill his synth brother. Then I sit on a stool for 24 hours, likely being asked Naninshi Muska every 5 seconds the whole time. And then it's time to mount our assault, which consists of flying a vertibird to the oil rig and using the minigun to kill the hundreds of ghouls that have infested its deck. Now, for the reason that you're spotted by these ghouls during a scripted event, I'm considering this to be a boss encounter, wherein according to the rules of European Extreme Mode, getting spotted doesn't result in a game over. So after a couple of attempts at gunning down these zombie leftover rejects, some of which going very poorly, I take out all the ghouls on the main deck and now have to sneak my way through the oil rig to send 3 clearance codes to allow the General to use the radio communication system to regroup the Enclave here. Huh, sneaking my way through an oil rig military base. Well, that sounds familiar. The first clearance code was easy, but the rest I'd have to fight and sneak my way through to. At first the ghouls seemed to load in fine and General Ward left me to the task, but after reloading from getting caught, the ghouls didn't load in and General Ward and Sergeant Peterson followed me for some reason until the ghouls randomly popped up. The benefit to that was that Sergeant Peterson and General Ward cleared out most of the ghouls in this area, so the second clearance code didn't take much to get either. I work my way through the halls of the rig until I get to the science department, where there are several jump scare ghouls that cause me to have to reload, but eventually I get that last clearance code and unleash a massive horde of ghouls to eat me. After getting nowhere fast, I eventually decide to sneak away, but the horde just spawns on top of me and detects me instantly. I'm not even sure if this is the same horde or a different one that just spawns there, or how they followed me without ever seeing me, but regardless, I think I just failed the challenge. I don't know, I'll let you guys decide in the comments. Is it fair to say that I failed the challenge when a couple dozen ghouls are spawning on top of me right out of a loading screen? Anyway, I dumped about 100 rounds of 5.56 into the ghouls with my XM16E1, and then continued to sneak my way through the oil rig since, in my heart, the challenge is never game over. Now all I have to do is kick on the power to this place, but to do that, I've also got to deal with this boss fight against the Mirelurk Queen. There's a missile launcher nearby, so I try to use that in tandem with some Molotovs, but the damage I'm dealing tells me that I'm gonna be here for a while. I find a place where the Mylar Queen can't so easily one-shot me with her acid loogies at the top of a defunct elevator shaft and just unload everything I've got. Hundreds of 5.56 XM16E1 rounds, thousands of 45 rounds from my US SOCOM, missiles, and after finding a sweet spot in the elevator shaft with no collision where I can shoot her but she can't hit me with her snot rockets, I basically spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes shooting at her with my US SOCOM until she drops. General Ward uses the comms to call in his order.
I'll have 2 number 9s.
And Dr. Kane sends me to get Heisenberg's cookware or something, a bunch of evil mustache-twirling Pixar villain items for the Enclave like FEV and, like, dead orphan babies or something from, you guessed it, a defunct military base. To get there was a pain in the ass. I was getting spotted by Mirelurks, raiders, and bugs, and a bunch of other things. Basically everything in downtown Boston could taste what cologne I was wearing. Eventually, after just not being able to progress, I found a bench, sat down, and waited for it to get dark since I figured I'd have a better shot in low visibility. Guess I forgot my phantom cigars in my other pants. Well, as it turns out, every enemy in Boston has a sundown curfew since they apparently all just disappeared. So I was able to continue on and clear out a couple of ghouls before getting to my destination, quite literally an abandoned military facility. This was probably my magnum opus in terms of gameplay. Using my M1911, I was popping people's heads, without VATS I might add, and I even killed a couple of randomly completely invisible raiders. I take out everybody in the first room, get this gorgeous grape pop, and though this third room is sloppy, I actually get through and drop everybody on my first try, no restarts. Bam, bam, boom, and skadoosh. The headshots in this facility were so satisfying, and I think this is when the run really started to feel like Metal Gear Solid for me. This room went a little bit slower and took a bit more figuring out, but it felt like an easy puzzle where the right order of actions was there, I just had to figure it out. After clearing the room and getting the thingy, the Brotherhood of Steel jumped me because they're mad that this mod robbed them of their W in Fallout 3 Broken Steel, and they gave me an ultimatum: join the Brotherhood of Steel or die. So I died. Yeah, this one was tough, and I treated it like a boss fight as well for the same reasons that I did for the Vertibird fight and the Mylar Queen. He's a tough enemy, it's a scripted event, and he already knows I'm here before I do. Eventually, after trying to blow this guy away with my XM16E1 and Ithaca M37, and failing, I realized that the main problem here was this guy's power armor. It's like trying to fight a guy wearing a tank. So now I've got a new plan. I've got to pop that fusion core on his back so that he explodes and dies. First off, lady, give me that cantaloupe. Alright, boss fight time. Well, I tried to open up on his back, don't take that out of context, but I failed miserably after playing merry-go-round. I tried to dump my XM16E1 on him again, but that obviously fell through, so I tried to go the route of circling around him and hitting his off button again, and this time, not only does it work, but while he doesn't explode and die, his armor does stop working, and it stops working right in the middle of this doorway, preventing him from getting near me, which in turn allows me to take him out from around the corner. Now that does leave me stuck in here because the suit of power armor is blocking the path to my objective, but luckily I took a Hail Mary leap and tried to put a power core in the suit, and not only did I have one, but the animation glitched me to the other side of the door. I take out the ad for the fight, and now I've got to take down a war between the Brotherhood of Steel and the Gunners. It certainly takes a while, but slowly and surely, the Brotherhood takes out the Gunners, I take out each of the non-armored Brotherhood members, and then I give the last two power armor using soldiers the same treatment as the last guy. Blow up their power cell and blow their brains out. The next area, where I was trying to get the next doohickey, was way too tight-knit for a non-silenced gun, so I swap back to my Foxhound, blow up this guy's suit of power armor before he even knew I was there, and then brain its former pilot right next to a second Brotherhood of Steel Knight. After some sneaky shenanigans, I was able to basically unload on the Knight so fast he died before he even realized he was being shot. I had a bit of trouble with this last room where the MacGuffin was, since the three guys in there, one with power armor, were pretty close together, but after some frustration, honestly because I was just being sloppy, I brain this dude and blow these guys to pieces somehow without them seeing me despite their looking right at me in near perfect lighting, which was very rewarding. Too bad that, for a small split second before he died, the last guy saw me. Funny enough, I just did it again faster and it worked this time. I nabbed the automated analyzer, and then it's off to the other side of the facility to fight through the Gunners to get another thing. Long story short, the Gunners are somehow more durable than the average Brotherhood soldier, but are nowhere near as hard to take down as the armored beef boys. D-Wolf really came in clutch here, which I'm thankful for considering most of the time he just body blocks me and gets me caught. But the main strategy here is to climb to the top of this mount, hide in the perfect dark, and gun down the gunners. For the last section, getting the FEV from some Warhammer orcs, Sergeant Peterson brought in the big guns and the secret password. Open says me. Unfortunately, one of our two backup guys dies, the other stays topside and abandons us, Peterson is still useless, and I basically get caught instantly. A couple more attempts later, and I get the winning plan. Push the Enclave soldier onto the elevator, and then let them fight the muties for me. I grab the virus after a short leisurely jaunt, and get everything back to Dr. Kane so that she can start making the Enclave base look like a fusion of the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute. As a reward, General Ward brings in the boys, and it is a damn fine reward. Still though, I would love to have a more powerful and practical reward, so I head down south and grab this beautiful piece of New Vegas machinery. I honestly never got a chance to use it enough to say whether or not it was as good as it was in New Vegas, but Bozar is always gonna be my baby. This next mission was the worst thing I think I've ever done in Fallout. Ever. Instead of walking you through this several hour-long gunfight, I'll just say this. These fuckers have spider senses. People with zero line of sight on me that even VATS can't detect are spotting me. It's fucking ridiculous. Just killing this one Brotherhood soldier took half an hour because I would instantly get spotted going one way and couldn't see him through the bushes of the other side and got spotted by him or someone else moments after. Finally, I let D-Wolf distract him long enough to kill him without his detecting me. Next, killing this one Brotherhood soldier in these 2 nights essentially took me trading D-Wolf for quiet and popping around this corner every 30 seconds for like an hour and a half to shoot one of them a couple of times and then attempt to retreat back behind the wall before they nearly instantly spotted me. It was a nightmare, but damn it did it feel good to overcome this particular challenge without getting detected, especially when I thought it was going to be impossible, and I can confirm that everything beyond this was easier. Now, inside the police station was comparatively a joke. Hell, for the first bit of it, I was using the M37 to blow people's heads off. This power armor gets forcibly turned off, these 2 hostiles get dispatched, I go in and take care of the power armor's former pilot, I shred this knight to pieces, take out this random confused Brotherhood of Steel soldier, and then I take out this final knight to reclaim this random police station for something that I do not remember as of writing this and cannot be bothered to review in the footage. After sitting in on Fallout 4's version of Skyrim's Civil War Council, the science department shows us that they've now developed FEV that kills ghouls. So, yay, racism, go Enclave, but oh no! The bad guys, the Brotherhood of Steel, not the Enclave, are attacking our base! Yeah, it's impossible to stealth this base defense section that I can tell, so I treat it like another boss encounter. My favorite get out of jail free card for when the challenge basically becomes impossible, and I don't want to explain myself to you guys. I didn't really seem to contribute much, but my M37 doesn't do nothing, so I'll take it. After I down a vertibird, finishing our successful defense, Colonel Campbell over here tells us that, now that the Brotherhood has failed to take our base, they're gonna blow it up with missiles. So they're mobilizing me, the legend of the battlefield, the mythical snake, to deploy into their military base, shut down their anti-air systems, and assault their base to turn off their missile systems. This is the last quest of the mod, the last mission of the run, and the most Metal Gear Solid section of the entire challenge, so get ready for some snack. I get dropped off by myself in the dead of night right in front of enemy lines. Perfect. Reminds me of Shadow Moses, maybe a bit like the Virtuous missions as well. For the first installation, I use my Foxhound to knock out the lights and then proceed to one-tap headshot all 3 of the guards there. First anti-air system down, 1 to go. Unfortunately, dawn comes, so I've lost my shadows, but I get a vantage point on the next outpost and take out the guards there. For the second anti-air installation, they've got sentry turrets and good guard placement, so I get atop a perch and try to pick them off from above. In this situation, I would have really liked to have a silenced Mosin Nagant, but unfortunately the mod I had only spawns them at level 25. I tried using Bozar for a faraway target with the best line of sight on me, but it was too loud, so I settled for going around back, picking off the rear guard, and killing the last 2 in the bunker with a grenade. How ironic. With the sentry turret done in, and the last anti-air system down, vertibirds roll through and drop off Sergeant Peterson and the rest of the assault squad, and I forego stealth for the final time to lead the team into the enemy encampment and turn off the Brotherhood of Steel missile system. I use my single-action army to blow the front offensive line to smithereens, use the remainder of my 44 ammo to clear a path to the facility, use my Bozar, or my Stoner 63, to take down the sentry turrets on top. From there, I use my Model 37 to tickle all of the defending Brotherhood of Steel soldiers until my fully armored Enclave backup comes through and wipes them out. Honestly, I don't know, man. Not sure why the M37 is so weak. I've used it several times in several challenges up to this point, and maybe it's better with modifications or on lower difficulties, but it just felt like a waste of shotgun shells compared to the damage the XM16E1 or the US SOCOM were putting out. After that, a bit unceremoniously, I stopped the missile launcher and that marks the completion of the challenge. As a reward for completing the questline, I got a special attack vertibird that I'll never use called the Patriot. If you do exactly what I've done here, step by step, then you too can successfully complete America Rising on European Extreme Mode. Or maybe not, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I failed a couple dozen times, and that doesn't even take into account any potential failures that I didn't notice, and